Hey everyone, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're joining from. My name is Abdur and I'm a product lead at Google. Super excited to be here today, and I hope everyone can hear me fine. Today, we're going to crack the code on what makes products succeed or fail, and why GTM strategy is the linchpin of driving that success. Now, whether you're a product manager, PMM, product lead, or a leader in tech, or aspiring to be one of any of these, my goal today is to equip you with actionable insights on crafting and executing impactful GTM strategies. But before we begin, just a quick disclaimer that I just want to clarify that the opinions shared in this presentation are solely my own, and they do not reflect the views of any of the organizations I've been affiliated with, including my current employer, which is Google. All right, let's begin with a quick intro about myself. I'm Abdur, a product lead at Google for the EMEA region, focused on Google's ad measurement products. So some of my highlights from my time here include leading one of the world's biggest software migration, moving from Universal Analytics to GA4, building a robust product strategy to help our advertisers in face of data loss due to regulation and technological changes. And most recently, I'm involved in building a product strategy for media effectiveness products such as incrementality and marketing mix models that help our SMEs plan media buying. Now, if we go back, I've mostly been part of the tech where I started off in OLX, which was an online marketplace startup in Pakistan, where I'm originally from, where my focus was on product analytics and performance marketing. I then worked in a Norwegian telecom company as a product manager before then moving to Ireland to take up a role in Meta as a project manager in the trust and safety space. And currently, as I mentioned, I'm working in Google as a product lead in building scalable and effective product go-to-market strategies. And recently, I've kicked off my own side hustle called Build Your Career in order to help individuals who want to move towards the big tech or who want to move in the product space. Here are my QR codes for the LinkedIn as well as my official Instagram in case you're interested in reaching out. Anyway, so we will cover 5 areas today. Start off with a successful product GTM example. Then I will uncover where GTM really sits in the organizational structure. And this will bring some clarity to you on how it works, which can give you an insight to various roles that also might be interest to you. We will then deep dive into what GTM strategy actually entails and round it up with a case study of a GTM failure, underscoring why it is the heartbeat to product success. All right, let's kick off. And please, let's keep it engaging. So if you have anything to say, please drop it in the comments. And the first question, in fact, I have for you to engage on is, which instant messaging product do you use at work or might have heard of? So drop it below in the comments. Yeah. All right. And can anyone guess which product this is? You can again drop it in the comments below. All right, exactly. So this is Slack. Slack launched at a time when workplace communication tools were either clunky, for example, emails, or unorganized, such as Skype or internet relay chat. And its success wasn't purely a result of being a good product. It was how Slack brought it to the market that made all the difference. So let's study what Slack really nailed, right? So first of all comes problem identification, where Slack's founders identified a pain point. Workplace communication was fragmented and inefficient, especially at a time when tech was booming, requiring faster communication and agility. Now, what they did was they framed the problem in a way that resonated across industries and team sizes. And they had really strong GTM tactics that worked for them. And let's go one by one on those. I've kind of structured it by 4. One is the target audience precision. So they Slack initially targeted tech-savvy teams who were early adopters of new tools like developers and startups. Then something unconventional they also did was that they went viral by having a bottom-up approach, right? So instead of selling Slack top-down to executives, they went directly to the teams. And once a team adopted Slack, it spread organically within the organization. Third one was seamless onboarding and a delightful user experience that they created, because from the moment users signed up, Slack showcased its value through a frictionless onboarding process. The product was intuitive and users saw immediate benefits. They even introduced automations. And I worked at a tech startup, OLX, as I mentioned before, where we built an automation, a very simple automation to receive our daily top line KPIs as a message from a bot in the team chat. And just this small daily automated routine helped our teams be very quick if a number was dropping. Anyone could spot it. And it was also a catalyst for spreading a data-driven culture in the company. Last but not the least, within their GTM, they had clear messaging. So their tagline was "Be less busy," which very well communicates the product's value and benefits. And I also recall a quote that they often showed when Slack was basically booting up, which said, "Automate and create time." And it resonated with me so much that even 8 years later, I still remember it vividly and how Slack helped me actually do that. So what were the results? So results were where Slack grew to 15,000 users within just 2 weeks of its public launch, and the viral loop of team adoption and word of mouth marketing propelled it to a unicorn status. So what is the key takeaway here for you? Slack's GTM strategy succeeded because it aligned the product's value with the pain points of a specific audience and used a distribution strategy that capitalized on its strengths. And recently, I was listening to my ex-boss's interview, Mark Zuckerberg, and this is from there, where he said the product strategy is about learning and iterating as fast as possible. If we can learn faster than everyone else, we'll win. And to be honest, this is so true. I don't think anyone in the tech space can ever really say that we've completely nailed it, but it's a continuous process of iterations. And those who do it really well, they at the end of the day win, and they have to be super connected to the market they're operating in. All right, so now you must be wondering, where in the company does GTM exactly happen? So let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at the org structure, right? So simply put, any tech product simply has engineers who build products to solve problems of a subset of users. And products are really not made in air-conditioned or cozy indoors. The starting point is the on-ground market, your user. Some of the best products are reverse engineered from there, not the other way around. Now, let's be honest, engineers are specialists. Their expertise lies in writing the code and building the products. But to bridge the gap between the business needs, customer insights, and technical execution, you need a gelling force in the middle, right? So that's where product managers come in. And a good PM doesn't just manage tasks. They deeply understand the customer's needs and translate those into clear technical requirements for engineers. In startups especially, PMs play a critical role in shaping the GTM strategy. They dive into the user's problems, think collaboratively, and test multiple solutions based on hypothesis. But here's the twist. As your organization grows, moving from a scrappy startup to an SME or even a big tech company like Google or Meta, stakeholder mapping gets far more complex. Suddenly, pinpointing where GTM fits within the organization isn't so straightforward anymore. So let's break that down and understand how the GTM evolves as organizations scale. So the basics always come down to this, right? So engineers are building products for customers and users. That's the foundation. But bringing a product to market successfully is a team sport. It's not just about building, but it's about bridging. So you've got product managers and global product strategy teams who create the overarching vision, and they rely heavily on insights and customer needs gathered by the regional strategy teams. And those regional strategy teams, they're working directly with the people on the front lines, marketing, tech support, and sales, the ones who are the closest to the customers. Now, of course, the structure will vary from company to company, but in some form or the other, this network of collaboration exists to really help the product succeed. Now, these four stakeholders specifically in this flowchart are the ones who are spread in multiple sub-teams. They work very closely together in order to build the right GTM and iterating the products. And think of it this way. Product launches move from left to right, starting with the development and moving towards the customer, but the market feedback travels in the opposite direction, from right to left. And the frontliners like tech support and sales teams are the ones spotting patterns in real time. They're the closest to the customers and often the first to see what's working and what's not. Now, those insights get fed back into the product strategy where they're distilled and analyzed before reaching the product managers. It's this constant back and forth that keeps the products aligned with the market demands. And once you've viewed all these multiple stakeholders which comprise of multiple teams, this is critical, that the stakeholder management is key for product teams, especially when organizations are scaling. Now let's go on to how you can craft a GTM strategy, which is a well-rounded strategy, right? So there's some critical questions that you need to ask, and it all starts with goal alignment first, right? So what are the goals and how do they align with the needs of our customers? Is every team from engineering to marketing aligned on the overall objective? One thing many teams, for instance, overlook is localization. For example, I know of a tech startup that recently launched a face verification feature. Now, it was a very promising feature, but they didn't account for the local language support during the initial rollout. And that oversight created friction for users in their target market and caused thousands of drop-offs. And then there are like other small things and nuances to consider, like device concentration. What's the market share of Android versus Apple in your target region? What models are people using and how might those affect performance or adoption? Now, these are very basic things, but at times get overlooked. So something for you to consider. Step number 2, experimentation. Now, when you're introducing a new product, it's essential to take a phased approach. This often starts with alpha and beta launches, which are key opportunities to test the waters before going all in. And as you scale, A/B testing becomes invaluable. It allows you to experiment with different features, messaging, or experiences to see what resonates most with your audience. These tests are your safety net, ensuring that you're making data-driven decisions rather than relying on just assumptions. And ultimately, these iterative steps help you refine your product and GTM strategy, minimizing risks and maximizing the chances of a successful full launch. Now, step 3, again, we're moving closer to the sales, or you can say the market POCs, as I showed you in the flowchart earlier. And, even the top companies miss this, that your frontline staff, the sales and support must be your product's biggest ambassadors. They need to know the product inside out because they're communicating with your customers day in and day out. And clear communication is essential, both written as well as verbal. So accessible, for instance, product documentation is key, which covers features, workings, and frequently asked questions. Then marketing teams can be a key here on creatives and building effective product collateral for internal as well as external use. So you need to ask yourself, are we doing internal trainings to prepare our teams? Are we following that with external trainings for the customers? And when your frontline is well trained and believe in the problem the product solves, they don't just solve problems. They turn customers into advocates. All right, last but not the least, sales can be also a powerful lever for product adoption and executing your product strategy. So while this may not apply for all companies, but for most, it's a game changer. And a key question to ask for yourself is to ask yourself, Does your sales incentive structure really align with your product priorities? It shouldn't really focus on just revenue. Consider adding components like driving adoption of high priority products or specific features. And this alignment ensures your team is motivated to push what matters most for your strategy. And now that we've mapped out the stakeholders, let's dive deeper into the GTM framework. How do you create a winning GTM strategy for any product? And what is a winning GTM strategy? So it's a roadmap that ensures a product reaches the right audience at the right time through the right channels. And it's just not marketing, it's a cross functional effort which involves product, sales, customer success, and beyond. What are the key pillars of a successful GTM strategy? Let's take a closer look at this. First off is market understanding, that you have to identify your target audience and their pain points and stay on top of the market trends, right? So for example, Zoom's GTM strategy during the pandemic, they identified the need for reliable, easy to use video conferencing in both personal and professional settings. And by understanding their audience immediate needs, Zoom was able to scale rapidly. Second is value proposition. So you need to differentiate your product from the competitors and craft messaging that clearly resonates with your audience and is ruthlessly simple. A lot of people miss out on this. Do not overcomplicate the messaging. Handhold your user and take them with you on this journey and explain the most complex concepts to them in very simple language, whether it's local or English, and always pinpoint how your product is solving their problem. And a good litmus exercise that I can leave you with today is ask yourself this question, that can you explain your product's value in 10 words or less? Do think about this after this session. Maybe note it down right now and spend some time on this and think if you can actually do that or not. If you can, well and good. If you can't, then you need to reconsider. Then comes the channel strategy. So choose the right channels, organic, paid, or partnerships, and ensure that they align with your audience's preferences and behavior. So for example, Shopify leveraged community and educational content to attract and engage entrepreneurs, helping them scale their businesses. Last but not the least is the timing. And we're going to discuss a case study later on, but timing is so crucial. You need to first align internal readiness with the external market conditions, and timing can actually make or break your product success. So for example, Apple's mastery of launch timing, always ensuring products are perfectly prepped and aligned with the market demand for maximum impact. Now, my personal take on them, I don't really see the same innovation from them anymore, but they have a killer GTM strategy. It's simple and communicates the problem that they solve for the user in a very effective and easy to understand manner. All right, and the key throughout this entire process, which is kind of a loop, is measurement and iteration. So you need to set clear KPIs from day one, whether it's user adoption, conversion rates, or customer satisfaction. You don't need hundreds of dashboards for the sake of having dashboards and looking analytical, but go for the metrics that actually matter and filter out the vanity metrics. Do analysis often, like product funnel analysis, spot trends and patterns early, and continuously gather feedback and use it to refine your strategy and improve the product. And you'll only be able to do this if you're well connected with your customer. Iteration is key to staying relevant and adaptable in a fast changing market. And let's take a close look at an amazing product that couldn't make it due to gaps in its GTM strategy. Does anyone over here recognize this product? You can drop it in the comments again. Any guesses at all? All right. So this isn't a scene from a James Bond movie. It's actually Google Glass. It was launched with a lot of hype. It promised to revolutionize augmented reality with a wearable device. But despite the tech being ahead of its time, it couldn't really make it, largely because of gaps in its GTM strategy. privacy concerns, unclear value proposition, poor market fit led to its downfall. Let's do a deeper analysis and break it down on what actually led to the failure. So what was the product? The product was a wearable device that promised to bring AR, augmented reality, into everyday's life. And it allowed users to basically take pictures, access information, and interact with the environment hands-free. Now, what really went wrong in the GTM strategy? A misaligned target audience. So Google marketed Glass as a consumer gadget rather than focusing on business or niche use cases where it could really deliver immediate values, for example, in healthcare or logistics. Because they launched not in today's world, they launched quite a few years back. Second was the price point. They launched at a price point of $1,500, and the device was far too expensive for mainstream adoption. Then the third one is lack of social acceptance. Google kind of failed to address public concerns about privacy and design. And then the fourth is the unclear value proposition, that the product's benefits were not really clearly communicated, leaving potential users unsure of why they really needed it. And then eventually it got discontinued within 2 years of its launch. All right, so we're on to the last section of the presentation. And why do I say that GTM is the heartbeat of product success? Now, you need to think of your product as the engine of a car, right? But no matter how powerful or well designed it is, without a fuel delivery system, which is basically your GTM strategy in your case, the car won't really move forward. So a strong GTM strategy bridges the gap between the product and the customer, and it's not a one-size-fits-all process. It's about alignment, execution, and iteration. So far, what have we looked at, right? So we've looked at why GTM is critical to product success. We studied the case study of Slack and Google Glass. Second was what a GTM strategy really entails: market understanding, value proposition, channels, timing, and iteration. And then we also learned from the Google Glass example on how to navigate GTM challenges and how to avoid some of the pitfalls. Now let's connect the dots and see how these pieces really fit together to power your product success. First of all, alignment is key. It's everything. So make sure that when you're making a GTM strategy, you have a conscious effort that ensures alignment between product, market, and customer needs. For example, Slack's GTM aligned its onboarding process with the pain points of its target users, which created a seamless journey from awareness to adoption. The second, execution drives impact. So a product can be technically superior, but if it doesn't reach the right audience in the right way, it won't succeed, right? And then the third one is adaptability, which is key. GTM isn't a one and done effort. It requires constant refinement based on feedback, market conditions, and user behavior. And now let's do a very quick recap of the entire webinar. What did we actually discuss, right? So you need to go back, go in the drawing board and start with discovery. So you need to start with the customer. Ask yourself, who are they? What's their pain point? How does your product solve it better than anything else? Make sure your GTM strategy is built around real customer needs. Second one, test small, scale fast. So pilot your GTM strategy with a narrow audience and refine based on feedback before scaling. Third is collaborate across teams. Collaboration is key. As I mentioned, stakeholder management, collaboration between all the stakeholders is going to be key. And the GTM success is not siloed. It depends on seamless collaboration between the product, marketing, sales, and customer success teams. And everyone must be aligned to drive the results. Last but not the least, measure relentlessly. Define and track key performance indicators like customer acquisition cost, time to value, and conversion rates. Whatever those KPIs might be, it's not necessary that they're just out of these three, but whatever the KPIs are, just make sure that you're tracking those, and the constant measurement and tracking will ensure that you're on the right track. Now, before I leave, I just want to leave you with one small question that what's one thing you'll revisit about your GTM strategy after today's session if you're in the product domain right now, if you're working as a product manager, working as a PMM, as a leader in a product org or domain. And this could be anything, right? So your stakeholder structure, you could also be rethinking the sales incentives for a commercial product, or aligning on goals, or even going back to the drawing board to dive deeper into the discovery phase. That's the first phase you start from. And take a moment to reflect on where you can refine and elevate your approach. That's going to be it. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar, and big thanks to Product School for arranging it and inviting me as a guest. In case you have any questions, you can direct it to my LinkedIn or the official Instagram. And if you're also looking for career tips, I do give those on these channels.